Hello, friends, and welcome back to Malicious Compliance Stories. Let's talk about a wild encounter with a Karen at a store that's closing down. But before we begin, best way to support our channel is to leave comments, like, and subscribe with the turned-on bell so you don't miss the new video every single day. Here we go. Wild Karen at the store. A popular cosmetic store is closing in my country. I went in yesterday after hearing of the closure to stock up on some hypoallergenic items, not knowing that they were already running their clear-out sale, making everything 75% off. To say the store was picked over was an understatement. It was damn near empty. I was lucky that they still had inventory on exactly what I wanted. When I got to the front of a very long queue, a wild Karen appears. Cutting in front of the line that's no less than 10 deep, she demands that they look in the back for a rose-scented hand cream she was unable to find on the sales floor. The woman at the counter assured her that all the inventory they had was out on the floor, and that if she was unable to find the item, they were sold out. A normal person would accept that a store with mostly empty shelves probably does not have the inventory to fill those shelves. Not a Karen. She understood "we don't have it" to be the start of a conversation. The associated clerk called out next, and I approached the counter. Karen held out her arm to block me and said, "I'm not done yet." Karen is insistent that they find her item and will not take no for an answer. She continues to badger the employee, pulling out winning lines like, "It's the only item I can use. You had it yesterday. I've been a customer for years. This is the third store I've been to." The employee with each statement reiterates, "What you see is what we have." Still not satisfied, Karen of course asks for a manager, refusing to move until the manager appears. At this point I say to her, "Could you please step aside while you wait so the line can progress?" This was met with her rudely telling me to mind my own effing business. I've done my time in retail and live for the moment when somebody pulls out an F-bomb, and I'm sure the associate, having enough, was also happy to ask at this point that she leave the store immediately for being rude to other customers. Unfortunately, a Karen only has one mode, and that is escalate. I've now committed the cardinal sin of making a reasonable request of a Karen, and have inadvertently made myself a target too. She then turns back to me and yells, "See what you've done? I'm just trying to get some help here. Now they're throwing me out because you couldn't keep your mouth shut. If this was somebody in trouble, you would probably mind your own business, but no, you have to be a bee because I'm just trying to get some service." A few of the customers in line join in calling her a Karen and noting she was in fact the one who was unable to keep her mouth shut. This only emboldened her to champion for her right to rose-scented hand cream. She then begins to berate every customer who dared question her approach to the situation. Everybody is a bee. Everybody needed to shut up. We just didn't understand customer service. Finally, the manager appears with the full bin of remaining hand cream. They had no less than 5 other varieties, just no rose. The manager is offering an alternative from what limited stock they had in a futile attempt to de-escalate. However, Karens don't understand de-escalation. Now Karen's already shaking mad over $3 hand cream and proceeds to call the manager stupid for not understanding rose, and then helpfully spells out R-O-S-E. The manager says again, "We are out of stock," noting she has offered alternatives, and if none are suitable, there's no further assistance they can provide. She tucks the bin under the counter and then says to Karen, "If there's nothing else we can help you with today, you need to leave before we're forced to make you leave." Finally accepting defeat, Karen leaves, not before knocking several products off a display table on her way out. I use their hand cream. It's pretty good. I prefer the vanilla scent, as the rose smells almost as crappy as Karen's attitude. The problem with a Karen is that they don't understand they're in the wrong. A room full of people telling them they're in the wrong will often only result in them digging their heels in further. This was the situation. And our second story. Refused service to a client who body shamed me. I, 24-year-old female, work at a salon and have been there ever since I got out of beauty school. It's a very small shop, and all the clients know every detail about your life and vice versa. When I started, I was a petite person weighing in about 110 pounds. However, when I got pregnant with my son, that quickly changed. Along with all the stress of pregnancy, being pregnant during 2020 when everything was shut down, and also not being with the right person, I took my stress out by eating, which caused me to gain a significant amount of weight on top of the baby weight. It's something I'm very insecure about, and I've been struggling to get the weight off, but I never expected an interaction like I did when I came back from maternity leave. Then we have Sue, a client who's the biggest nightmare to deal with. Every time she comes in, she has a 2-liter of Diet Coke, 2 hot dogs, and a shopping bag filled with random knickknacks and leaves them all over the place. She constantly asks us to heat up her hot dogs so that we can eat them while she's being shampooed. We always say no. And to top it off, no matter what service she gets, she tips in nickels and dimes. She also constantly tells us about all the people she's currently suing. For example, she's suing her trailer park home for having too many cats in it. So you guys get the gist. So I come back from maternity and see that Sue is in to get her hair washed, and when she comes in, I say hello, and the first thing out of her mouth is, "Oh my gosh, you really have gotten big." I truly didn't know what to say to that. I just kind of shook my head and said, "Yeah, let's just get you shampooed." During her service, she kept going on and on about how fat I'd gotten and kept mentioning how small I used to be, and it started to really bother me. But the comment that really made me upset was when she looked at me and said, "You know, I think I figured out why I don't have a big belly and a big neck like yours. I've never had children, so that must be the reason." I started to tear up, finished her service, and went to the back room and cried. And then 2 weeks later, she comes back in, and I refused to service her as I did not feel comfortable working on someone who's just going to insult me. My boss ended up being upset with me for refusing service, but I honestly don't see how I'm in the wrong here. I don't know, maybe I just need a different perspective on this. Edit. After the first incident, I did notify my boss and told her I did not want to service her again. My boss agreed, and when I asked her why I had to service her the second time, when I specifically said I didn't feel comfortable doing so, they said that I was the only one available. Update. I've since talked to my boss and even showed them some of the posts regarding the legal action that they could avoid if Sue decided to sue us, and they apologized profoundly and said that come Tuesday, they'll call them and fire them as a client. Update. Sue was fired. I was able to sit down with my boss after, and they again apologized and explained how everything went down. They said that when they called Sue, they explained that after constant complaints from the staff and other clients of disrespect, that unfortunately she was no longer welcome. As suspected, she did not take that well and did threaten to sue, and when my boss explained how that would go, she just got angry, cursed her out, and hung up. Moral of the story is that now no one has to deal with her, and I feel sorry for whoever she goes to next. And our next story. This is my house. A few years ago, my brother needed help. I let him move into one of my rental properties, and we did it all legal, lease agreement and everything. Because I was renting to him at a break-even point, we agreed that he was responsible for all the maintenance of the house and yard. Well, he has 4 kids, and the hot water tank isn't enough for his family, and he wants a new one. I told him to go ahead. He then proceeded to take the cost of the hot water tank and installation off of that month's rent. I reminded him of our agreement. He said he wasn't making improvements to my property for free. I said that the old hot water tank was fine, and he made the decision to replace it. Big argument, and I didn't want to fight, so I said that he was not allowed to make any further changes to the house without my explicit agreement. So he stopped doing maintenance as a protest. The house itself is not pretty, but it's solid. It's old, and the wiring in it was not meant for all the modern electronics we have. He wanted to add a new breaker box and run more outlets. I said, no thanks. I cannot afford that since I'm not making any money on the house. He started getting bitchy about it, and the rent started getting paid late. I tried talking to him, but he said that he had to buy some stuff for the house and he was low on cash. So I sold the house. While the house itself isn't great, it's in an older part of the city, and the property itself is a 1/4 of an acre. Every time a house sells in the neighborhood, it's snapped up by developers and turned into multifamily units, or one guy built a McMansion on his land. I know a lot of the developers, and I didn't even need to list the house to have it sold in less than a week. My brother found out when he was served with an eviction notice. He called me to ask WTF, so I told him that the house was causing me headaches, and I had an opportunity to make some money, and I took it. He said I should have offered him a chance to buy it. I said he was having trouble making rent. How was he going to qualify for a mortgage? He said I'm an a-hole and that he has the money. He was waiting to make me an offer. I asked him if he had money, why was he late on his rent? He started bad-mouthing me to all our family. A few of them took his side and tried to say I was being an a-hole, so I offered all of them a chance to clear his debt to me if they wanted to share their opinion. None of them took me up on the offer. My parents are on my side. They said I shouldn't have rented to him in the first place. I feel bad for my sister-in-law and the kids, but I'm not going to spend the rest of my life subsidizing him. Why should you lose money to help him out? It was good of you to rent him at a discount, and he crapped on you for your hospitality. You can feel bad for your sister-in-law and nibblings, but they're not your responsibility. And our last story. Want me to move my pond over? Okay. This happened some years ago. I bought 4 acres and a house out in the country. The neighbor in this story has about 6 acres. The people I bought the property from put in a small pond several years before, and when they did, part of the raised ground surrounding the water went over the neighbor's property line, maybe 5 to 10 feet. I didn't know about the property line issue when I bought the place. About a year after I moved in, my neighbors decided to have a fit about the property line. They claimed the previous owners had promised to move the raised area, and if I didn't move it, they would, plus they would take me to court about it. After going back and forth about it with them threatening lawyers and coming to my work to argue about it, I told them I would move it. So I contacted a guy with a small bulldozer and told him that I wanted to reshape the pond. It was summer by then and the pond had mostly dried out as it was shallow. I wanted it deeper and to move the dirt on the neighbor's side inward by a few feet. Now for the malicious compliance. Making the pond deeper and moving the dirt wall meant I now had a lot of extra dirt that needed to go somewhere. I told him pile that dirt up along the neighbor's property line as long and high as you can and make sure it blocks the view between our 2 properties, which he did. The new dirt wall between my neighbor and me stretches from the pond to most of the way down the property line, and it's about 10 feet tall. My neighbor was pissed, but there wasn't anything he could do. There's a ruling that says no structures on the property line, but dirt isn't a structure. He tried to get the local neighborhood board involved, but I just ignored their letter offering to move the dirt for free as they didn't have a case, and I liked having the dirt wall between us. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.